Greetings, agents. This is the Mediocre Gamer. Thank you for tuning in today. I really appreciate it, and I hope you're doing well. Please remember to subscribe, like, comment, or share my videos so that I can grow my channel. The topic of today's video is the game mode Descent. The purpose of this video is to provide a guide for newer players or players that haven't touched Descent or maybe stuck, uh, and it's my intention to share my knowledge, or what knowledge I have on Descent, to in an attempt to assist you with reaching and defeating the Nemesis. So that is the primary focus, is just getting to the Nemesis and defeating him, and some strategies that you can employ. Um, Anything beyond that is won't be covered. Mainly because I don't really go much past defeating Nemesis. I have on occasion, but um, I think if you can get to Nemesis consistently, then you won't have any problems on subsequent loops. Um, so basically, why would you want to defeat the Nemesis? I guess there's a couple of reasons. One, it is a weekly project where you can earn exotics, I believe, or an exotic. Um, The other is that you can actually obtain named item blueprints. I don't know how many there are, and if there is a list floating around somewhere, I'll try and stick it in the comments. But that's the main reason, I guess. You can earn named item blueprints. I think the last one I got was Dark Winter, so that, that is a bit of an incentive. There's also comms that you can get that provide some background lore on the game, and Descent as well. Maybe that's a secondary incentive. But I guess the main one is those named item blueprints. And unfortunately, they're not guaranteed by playing Descent, but you can actually purchase them. Now, this video is quite long. It's about 35 minutes or something. I don't expect you to watch the whole thing. Obviously, who's got time to watch a 35, 40-minute video? But I will use some bookmarks in the comments of the loops, the arena rooms, and of course Descent, so that if you're wanting to look at a particular area or something like that, it will be there. I've tried to show all my choices as much as possible, like skill choices, weapon choices, talent choices, etc., to help you out. I am by no means an expert at this, but I just wanted to share my knowledge with people who may be not sure how to approach this. So if you do have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments, and I will answer them. I'm going to be doing this weekly because no two Descent runs are the same. And you can see all my choices as well. In hindsight, I probably could have made some better decisions, but that's always going to happen. So if you're not familiar with Descent, what is it? Basically, it's a computer game for your agent. So you enter Descent, all your gear, all your weapons are stripped of you. You don't have any skills, you don't have any watch bonuses or anything like that. You basically start from scratch. And so by completing rooms, you start to fill up the Nemesis heat gauge. Once it reaches 100%, you will then face the Nemesis at the end of whatever current loop you are currently in. So just a couple of general tips. Easy and medium rooms are probably the best to start out with. They will get you to Nemesis by around loop 5. If by about loop 3 your build doesn't feel right, then I would suggest maybe trying a couple of hard rooms just to slow things down so that you can flesh your build out a bit more and give yourself some more time to refine your build. For stats upgrades at the end of each loop, I always take the offensive red option because more damage is better. I have tried with armor cores and I have tried doing a red-blue mix, but for me, going all red works better. Your mileage may vary. Also, on the earlier loops, just in the, in those standard rooms, you can use your pistol to take down enemies just to conserve some ammo for the boss fight at the arena, because you don't start out with much ammo. So yeah, you can just use your pistol, unless you kind of get in trouble or get stuck, then switch to whatever weapon you've chosen. And sometimes, the randomness of this will deal you less than favorable choices. Unfortunately, there's not much you can do about that. Um, just try and make use with whatever you have. So at the start, you can choose a random weapon and a random skill. You have 3 to choose from. This is the only occasion you can do this. On subsequent loops, you can choose a weapon or a skill. You will enter the facility and you'll be able to choose a room with one of 4 difficulties. So at lower loops, up to about loop 5, an easy room will spawn about 5 to 6 enemies from one of the 2 highlighted red doors. That will give you a Nemesis increase of about 7%, or Nemesis heat of about 7%, and you'll earn roughly about 300 currency to spend at the supply stations. Medium rooms, yeah, once again about 5 to 6 enemies. Your Nemesis heat will be about 5%, and your currency will be about 400 gain. A hard room, you're looking at once again, about 5 to 6 enemies from 2 of the 4 red highlighted doors. Your Nemesis heat gain will be about 3%, and your currency gain will be about 500. If you come across a HVT room, which is the skull, I'm not talking about the arena boss room at the end. I'm talking about a HVT room. You'll get about 4 enemies with a named elite, and that will earn you 3% Nemesis heat and about 700 currency. Once you complete 4 rooms, you will then get to the arena, and this signifies the end of the loop. You will get 2 waves of about 5 to 6 enemies, with the HVT, or the high value target, spawning on the second wave, and he is a named elite. So once you kill him, you'll get about 1,000 currency and 10 NSA credits. And you also get a stats upgrade, and that's where I mentioned at this point I always choose the offensive red option. At loop 1, you should also get an exotic talent choice, and at subsequent loops there is also a chance to get an exotic talent, but the chances of that happening kind of decrease. Each room may also have a random modifier like flammable vapor, fire, electricity with a periodic power surge, poison gas, steam, and an EMP. So just be aware of that and use that to your advantage. You'll know if there's a modifier going in, as it will be displayed on the room banner. From loop 6 onwards, you'll get 2 waves of hostiles per room. So therefore the arena will have 3 waves in total. At the start of each loop, you can spend your accrued currency to purchase upgrades such as additional slots for talents, extra ammo capacity, grenades, medkits, and extra weapon and skill choices. I would recommend buying additional slots for the offensive talents, medkits, and ammo capacity. I usually have enough currency to purchase one of these per loop. For weapons, it is going to be a personal choice, whatever you're more comfortable with. I do like to grab an LMG if I can, and obviously an assault rifle or something like that. But once again, this is a personal choice. I'm going to highlight some talents now. And once again, these are only my suggestions and my personal preference only. But some good offensive talents is Vigilance, where you get 10% weapon damage. Allegro gives you a 7% rate of fire increase. Critical gives you plus 10% critical hit damage. Surgical gives you plus 5% critical hit chance. Strain gives you a gain of 10% critical hit damage for every half a second you are firing, and that stacks up to 5 times. Overwatch, so after staying in cover for 6 seconds, increases you and your allies' total weapon and skill damage by 10% as long as you remain in cover or in a cover-to-cover move. Composure, while in cover, increases your weapon damage by 10%. And Intimidate, while you have bonus armor, you gain 1 stack per second up to a maximum of 5 stacks. Each stack grants weapon damage by 3% to enemies within 25 meters. That pairs very well with something like Adrenaline Rush or Leadership, which grant you bonus armor. Defensive skills, so Preservation, killing an enemy repairs 7% armor over 5 seconds. Headshot kills improve the repair by an additional 5%. Clutch, if you are below 15% armor, critical hits repair 10% of missing armor. Leadership, performing a cover-to-cover move grants 10% of your armor as bonus armor to you and all your allies for 10 seconds. Ad Rush, whenever you are within 10 meters of an enemy, gain 3% bonus armor for 5 seconds, and that stacks up to 3 times. Entrench, if you are below 30% armor, headshots from cover repair 10% armor. And then finally the utility skills. Braced, while in cover, weapon handling is increased by 10%. Extra gives you 10% mag capacity. And then there's quite a few of these that have similar traits. So Ignited, Sadist, Trauma, and Eyeless basically give you extra damage or damage to enemies that are either on fire, blind, bleed, and then after a couple of kills, the next enemy you kill will be, set on fire or be blind or bleeding, depending on which one you choose. Optimized gives you 5% weapon handling. And so for each room that you complete, there is a chance that you can increase the level of all of these skills. So they're not just stuck at 10% weapon damage or whatever. They do actually increase, making your build more powerful as you go along. I'm just going to highlight also a couple of exotic talents that I believe are worthwhile choosing or having in your arsenal. The first one is Agonizing Bite. So that randomly marks a target. Hitting that enemy consumes the mark, guaranteeing a critical hit with damage amplified by 20%. After hitting a mark, all shots fired are guaranteed critical hits for 5 seconds. A new random enemy is marked afterwards and whenever you reload. So that is particularly good for Nemesis because if you have this talent or exotic talent, when you face the Nemesis, they will instantly be marked. So you'll instantly get that critical hit damage and amplified, or critical hit damage will be amplified by 20%, and then you'll get guaranteed critical hits for 5 seconds. So that comes in particularly handy for Nemesis. So consider that one. Bullet Hell. So basically that's no reload. Not much to say there, except it's obviously very handy. Plague of the Outcasts, which is basically the same as the talent on the Pesty LMG. So hits apply a debuff, dealing 75% weapon damage over 10 seconds. This stacks up to 50 times. Whenever an enemy dies with this debuff, all stacks are transferred to a nearby enemy within 7 meters. So that's a pretty good one to have as well, not only for getting to the Nemesis, but also for actually taking on the Nemesis as well. Bloodsucker. So killing an enemy adds and refreshes a stack of 8% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Maximum stacks is 10. That's great for loops leading up to the Nemesis. Not so good for dealing with the Nemesis itself, because you actually have to kill an enemy. That is great if you also have Intimidate. So they're the 3, 4 ones I could recommend. Obviously, there are others that you will encounter. And once again, it's personal preference. If you have a favorite exotic talent that you want to go for, then, by all means. But these are the main ones that I have found success with in the past. As far as choosing skills, the main skills that I would recommend would be the Fire Sticky, Explosive Sticky, EMP Sticky, Fire Chem, Blind to Firefly, and Riot Foam. The main reason is that they are reasonably easy to dodge or avoid. So, you can probably, you can usually see them coming. You'll see that the Nemesis is, preparing to launch these skills. You can either stay in cover or kind of dive out of the way or something like that. So they're the main ones I would recommend. Now, I should mention that the Nemesis will copy your weapons and skills. So if you have an LMG, generally the Nemesis will have an LMG, etc. If you have one of these skills, then the Nemesis will generally copy it at random. The Nemesis can't copy any of the pulses or the decoy or a shield. So that means they will get a random skill instead. So you probably want to avoid that. You want to actually try and control what the Nemesis has as much as possible. So that's why it's advisable to taking one of those skills that I mentioned, because they're easily avoidable and you know that the Nemesis is going to have one. I wouldn't take a turret, a drone, or a hive. Firstly, they can be hacked by the Nemesis and they can be copied. And you're going to be, not only fighting off the Nemesis, but also a turret, a drone, or a hive. So I'd avoid those if possible. Always go in with 2 skills. If you go in with just 1 skill, the Nemesis will then get a random skill, and that's going to be disadvantageous to you. I do like going in, if possible, with a decoy and Riot Foam. Yes, the decoy can be a bit dangerous because it can't be copied. But I find that those 2 together make a pretty good combination, and I have had a lot of success with those 2 in the past, but your mileage may vary. As far as talent pools, there are 5 talent pools that rotate the exotic talents and the the 3 offensive, defensive, and utility talents. Some are better than others. I think arguably Envy is the best, and Wrath is a very close second. The reason being, Envy, you have the chance of getting Plague of the Outcast, Bullet Hell, and Agonizing Bite, as well as some pretty good offensive talents. With Wrath, you also have the chance of getting Bullet Hell and Plague of the Outcast, as well as Bloodsucker, as well as some pretty good offensive talents also. So that doesn't mean that the Nemesis is impossible on the other 3 remaining talent pools. It just means that your chances of defeating the Nemesis by going in with Envy or Wrath, your chances of success are increased, I would say. So you can either wait until Envy or Wrath come up, and I think they rotate about every 2 days, or you can just try your luck with whatever talent pool is on hand and see how you go. So once you make it through your loops and you fill up your heat gauge, you've made it to the Nemesis. It's time to prepare. So you will actually go into a bit of a preparation room prior, where you can stock up on ammo, grenades, med kits, and you can also buy special ammo for whichever weapon you choose. Just remember, if you do buy special ammo, it will be the ammo for whatever weapon you currently have equipped. Um, just read the description for the special ammo. An example of a good choice would be high velocity, as that causes stagger. If the description says something like named more enemies have superior resistance, then avoid that one. Maybe take the other one. Usually what I do once I enter the arena is I usually run over to the far left hand side where there is a platform and cover. I usually get there just as the Nemesis is spawning. It's a good elevated position, as I said, with cover. Once there, just stay in cover and wait. Your skills will be disabled for about 10 or 15 seconds. Then when you're ready, use whatever skills you have chosen to try and either distract or put some damage into the Nemesis, and only pop up when it's safe to do so, as the Nemesis will two-shot you. Watch to see what skills they have and prepare to roll out of the way or do a cover-to-cover move if needed, but try to stay on the platform unless they push you. And you know, if you do everything right, you should be able to kill them, which is a big congratulations. As you have then completed the project, you'll get some rewards, you'll get some comms, you'll earn some NSA tech, or not NSA tech, but you'll earn some NSA currency. And you also earn that from completing loops as well. And that can be spent at the station outside the entry of descent. Reconstructed caches are the ones you want, as they contain the named item blueprints. There is also a chance of them dropping on certain loops. I will need to confirm this, but I do believe it's not until loop 15 that reconstructed caches have a chance of dropping. That's what I'm looking at here, but I have a feeling that they may have updated it since this, but I will try and confirm that. And that's where you can also buy the permanent upgrades. They will help you out a lot. So I suggest that you make that your priority. That's all I have to offer at this point. I really hope that this has helped you out. And once again, if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, please do leave them in the comments. Now, and I hope this guide has been helpful or useful. If it has, please consider liking, subscribing, commenting, or sharing. But that's all for now. Until next time, stay safe out there, agents, and take care.